Welcome to Wow, Look at Us Now podcast. I'm your host, Rochelle Onslager.
And I'm Michael Onslager. Hey everybody, it's Michael here. Welcome to the Wow, Look at Us Now podcast. And today's subject, we're going to be talking about abuse.
He's already looking at me because we just talked about how we're going to say this, and now I'm making him uncomfortable because I laughed at him anyways. Oh, okay. So, abuse.
Yeah.
So, I think that we're going to address, we're going to talk about the ones that I've experienced at least. Well, some of what you've experienced, but ones, so physical, emotional, sexual, and verbal kind of goes with emotional, mental. You know, it's like all three in one kind of.
Yeah.
But it's kind of different in a sense. Yeah, so I'm going to read a couple examples so people know what it actually is. Why are you looking at me like that?
Nothing.
You are. Okay, anyways. We're gonna go with, so I basically just looked up like definitions of certain abuses, just to give people an idea. So on physical, it's physical abuse can involve any of the following violent acts: scratching, biting, pushing, shoving, slapping, punching, kicking, or using objects or weapons to do that as well. Emotional / mental is accusing, blaming, denial, jealousy. They can accuse you of flirting or cheating. They say you'd spend all your time with them if you truly love them. Using guilt, unrealistic expectations, degrading and blaming, denying the abuse, blaming you for their problems, destroying and denying it. Sexual abuse is unwanted sexual activity with perpetrators using force, making threats, or taking advantage of victims not able to give consent. Most victims and perpetrators know each other. Immediate reactions to sexual abuse include shock, fear, or disbelief of the actual abuse. Verbal abuse is known as emotional abuse as well. It's a range of words or behaviors used to manipulate, intimidate, and maintain power or control over someone. They include insult, humiliation, ridicule, silent treatment, attempts to scare, isolate, and control. Boom. So,
What do you mean?
we're just going to get into
Boom,
this.
this is abuse.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's what I'm saying, because some people will say, like, where do you draw the line? Like, what is actual, like, when you get to that point, what is actual abuse? Because it can be different.
Well,
Because there's also abusive behaviors. I don't know how to explain this. I think I'm already going to say.
Well, with the mental and emotional, like I think a lot of people, even if you have a healthy marriage, some of those examples is, yeah, you may not be like an abuser, like a consistent abuser or anything like that, but I think even in normal marriages, you at times abuse your spouse in some sort of form, like even without.
Well, that's what I meant. Like, there's
Even
like
if you have a
certain,
healthy
there's
marriage.
like certain like little, yeah.
Yeah,
There's
but
certain, like,
it's like if you do it all the time, kind of
behaviors,
thing. Yeah,
but it's like a whole nother level, and that's hard to.
Yeah.
You
kind of have to
it's kinda
decipher.
hard. Yeah, you kind of have to decipher.
and
what
it
is
depends
actually
on
gonna be.
the amount and if like the other person
Oh,
does
I'm
not
I'm
see it
just
at all.
abusive just a little bit. Just kidding. That's a good way to put it, huh?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. I'm not completely. Okay. I'm actually already on this subject because of what I've been in. Ain't gonna talk about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, but I mean, I just did, but that's a whole nother story. No trauma after trauma. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you, what are some. Well, I think we're both gonna actually talk about this. What are, to start out, what are some certain experiences or abuse that you have experienced?
Mental all the way. Mental, emotional. That's my biggest one. Nobody's ever really been physical with me for the most part. But mental and emotional is my biggest one. That's the one that I would say I still to this day struggle with through certain interactions and things with people, even people that don't abuse me. Like, it's that one is definitely stuck with me for sure.
So, well, okay. So I know stories, obviously, about your story,
Yeah.
and that's like only for you to tell. Which we're not here to,
Yeah.
do kind of. But mostly people who've abused you don't even know about it.
Yeah.
So how can you heal if you haven't told the person the pain that they're responsible for? Like, how can you heal from the abuse if you can't even have a conversation about it?
When you texted me this question a couple hours ago, I was like, I was in my head. I was driving here, and I was like, crap. Like, I really don't know. Everybody says like you to like get over things, like you have to bring things to the light, admit them, whatever the case may be. And there's just certain circumstances in my life where I feel that if I brought them up,
You're still protecting them, though.
yeah, I feel like if I brought them up, it would damage the relationship to the point where I would not have a relation with them. And I think that's the hardest part, because it's not something that you can just bring up lightly in this case because of
Well, because you were abused, so they're going to deny it. That's actually a form of, however, what is it?
it's not even
Emotional
it's not
abuse.
even
It's
just
denying the
it's
abuse.
not even just denial. It's like, man, how do I put this? Dealing with certain circumstances, it can make or break either A, someone's reputation, or B, it can make or break whether you have future relation with that person. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with. Like, if I brought this out and just told them like, hey, this is what I feel like you have done to me, it would either get blown up a lot. I mean, and who knows, it could go the right way. But for me, in the area that I'm in,
I doubt it.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I doubt
I
it.
don't think so.
I
It's
highly
almost
doubt it.
pointless to say something to them because it's not like you can take it back. Well, I mean, but some people have to do it for closure.
Yeah, but
Or
once
for,
you,
like,
for me, it's like the situation that I'm in. Like, once you air that out, it's like a hand grenade going off. Like, even if that relationship doesn't die, there's gonna be some severe wounds or shrapnel. Like,
Okay, so let's go back to the question though. How can you heal if you haven't got to tell that person? So in your
I
process,
really don't know. I can't share how it. The only thing I can share is that my relationship X amount of years ago, and with that person and my or persons, and my relationship with now with them is better.
yeah. So you've healed some though.
I've healed
So
some.
how have you done that though?
I've had to talk to a lot of people. Not a lot of people. I've had to talk a lot to people, um, whether it be accountability partners. I've talked a lot with you. There's just some stuff where,
Therapist,
therapists.
like that's a main one I think that actually started that whole uncovering it because you didn't even realize
Yeah.
that you were
Yeah,
abused
I
until other people
I legit
in the
had to
outside
have-
in saw it too.
I had to have someone outside of all of my
Mm-hmm.
personal relationships tell me it was abuse, because I didn't
You were
trust.
so used to it.
I couldn't trust anybody. I couldn't trust.
You're even yourself.
Yeah. So it was one of those things, like, I had to have an unbiased outside view opinion to tell me like, hey, Michael, like, what's happening to you right now is not okay, and it should not go on any longer.
Yeah.
And I think the minute once I started changing things in my life, life did get easier in a lot of ways. So, yeah.
You did? Okay, well, then how do you deal with the day-to-day triggers after experiencing mental abuse? You can also
I actually dealt with one last night.
you can give me an example.
Yeah, I dealt with one last night. So last night you told me to do something. You're like, go do this. And
You okay?
No, I
that
know.
tone of voice. You just said, "Go do this." I did not.
you
say
did
that.
you did have like attitude behind it, but it wasn't
Welcome
like,
to
but you
Rochelle.
weren't in like a bad mood though. So it was just you just saying it just to say it. Like, because you have a time where you're joking and you have a time where you're serious, and they both sound very similar, but you can tell the difference when you're serious and when you're joking. But you said it, and instantly, like,
It triggered you.
Yeah, I went on defense. I was pretty lit in the moment. I was just kind of like, oh. So I walked away. I walked away and I prayed for a little bit. It was just real quick, but I'm learning that when things happen, like I have to slow down and think like, okay, is this person really meaning this? Are they being rude? Are they just being funny? Or are they just like, there's a lot of things that I have to slow down and think about everything. Like that's why when you and I have talked, it's like, I don't even know how to feel right away when something happens. Like I don't, like I have to take a little while to process my emotions. Cause if I don't stop and just think about like what actually happened or what I'm actually feeling, I kind of like I go haywire. Not like mad or anything like, but everything inside me it just goes bleh.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to always process things right away. So for me, it's like triggers like that where I have to just slow down. I just have to take it one piece at a time and really think about like, okay, what is this person saying? What is this person actually?
Well, it's literally a communication then.
Yeah.
It goes back to like certain tone of voice or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
and for me that's huge. Like
yeah.
like I mean, I've obviously told you, but you can deliver the worst message in the world. But it's how you deliver the message. I really don't care about the message. I care about how the message gets delivered, you know.
How it gets said. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, so for me, like if it gets delivered in the right way, and like I'll go to the ends of the earth for that person or whatever the case may be, or do whatever it takes. But like when it gets delivered wrong, even if it's just something simple, like I shut down and I'm like nope, like it's hard for me to handle stuff like that sometimes. I get over it, you know, fairly quicker than I used to. I do know that, but as far as every like day to
Well, I
day
think
triggers,
it's because it's day-to-day triggers. It's also because with like people you trust.
Yeah.
So with me, you know that most
Oh,
of the
yeah.
time
Yeah,
I'm not
if it's-
meaning
oh yeah, if
it a
it's
certain way. Like I'm saying it, how you're hearing it is not how I'm meaning it.
Yeah.
It's just like how I say it. And you're
Well, and
like,
as
oh,
time-
it's
as-
attitude,
as
and I don't
we-
even see anything wrong
yeah,
with
as
it.
we
It's
keep
like,
building
oh.
our relationship, like I have to just tell myself like slow down, like that's not what she's meaning, like, and that's why I'll even ask questions sometimes. I'm like, is this what, like, are you mad or are you
Like, you know, in therapy,
Yeah.
when you say this is how I feel,
Be-
and then you
or
have to
this is-
say,
yeah.
did I hear you say
Yeah.
what I heard you said is
Yeah.
blah 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 blah, and you have to say like
Exactly.
it
And
back
I just kind
so
of
you
have to see like where
understand.
you're coming from. That's why I ask you. I'm like, are you okay? Are you mad? You're like, no, I'm fine. Like, I'm like,
You
oh, okay.
always say that.
I know, but but I have to ask that question because if you are,
So what?
if you
what-
say
what
something,
happens? What if I say, yeah, I am mad, Mike? What are you gonna say back to that?
oh, I definitely like if
If
you
you're triggered,
if
though.
you meant like to boss me around or to like be like you're going to do this, then I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, definitely not. Like
I don't think
The
I've
best-
ever
the
said
best
that, though.
way-
like to
you-
ever
you said-
to say you're gonna do this.
not you haven't said like you're gonna do this, but you
This
like have been
sounds, like,
bossy or like
super
when you tell me like put chapstick on now, and I'm like, no, like definitely not.
Oh no, it's because I look and I give you. I won't even say it. I just give it to
Yeah.
you, and you get mad about that too.
But like
But that's hard for you because you've been controlled before in the same way. So I
Yeah.
get it, but I'm not meaning it
Like,
that way.
to
I'm
give-
just doing it as like I'm caring about you,
Yeah.
and
to give like a visual like representation, it literally feels like someone's grabbing the back of my neck, and like, and that's when I want to rear back and fight back. Like I'm just like, no, like I'm not doing that. But I
that's
have
funny,
to.
I'm getting triggered now.
Yeah, I have to.
I instantly want to say no. I did not say that.
Yeah, I know.
because I don't say it that.
But
way.
this is the thing though. Like this is the part of like mental abuse, like physical. Like someone punched me in the face, and like I punch him back, whatever the case may be. Like you, at the end of the day, people are like, okay, I feel better now. Like, and you walk away. Not all the time, but with
Like,
mental, it's such
definitely,
a.
I think I honestly, and I'm not like downplaying anything because I've definitely been in all of these abuses. So I'm not downplaying any one or the other. I'm just saying I think I'd rather get physically abused than mentally abused again. Like that was honestly the worst out of.
It's definitely more cut and dry. It's more black and white. It is way more black and white
For physical.
for physical.
Yeah, mental you can't see.
It's
the
such a
scars.
gray area, and
can't-
everybody else, like if someone like if I hit you, you're gonna have tons of people on your side. It's like, oh, it's so black and white. Like Michael's jerk. He freaking hits
Or
his
blue
wife.
and purple, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
No, it's
but
not even that. But
when it's mental, like nobody else sees that kind of stuff.
well, even physical. I've been in abuse physically. No, they never punched me in the face. No, they never like slapped me. It was more like they banged my head against stuff. They shoved me against the wall. They
Yeah.
did that kind of stuff. Like that's abuse, physical abuse, or had like a pillow, or like, and it sounds dumb, but it really is. It's like this pillow, and they go all the way back with their whole entire body and slam you, and then they go, and then I'll freak out because I'm like, what are you doing? You just slammed me all the way, like flew back in another like seat. And they're like, well, I didn't hit you because they didn't physically hit me with their hand. They used an object. And I'm like, oh, actually,
I just hit you with my car. I didn't like actually hit you.
okay, that's too far. But I'm saying like substantial, like
Yeah.
or not like as like you were like, oh, maybe that's why you question it a lot. You're like, maybe it's not abuse because they didn't really hit you. They didn't like
Just
that's
because they
the
didn't
game.
draw
That's also a
blood
mental game
or
though,
show.
too.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It's a yeah. Anyways, so in your experience with it, as far as mental abuse goes, when did you realize it was abuse? Because obviously you know physical abuse when you see it. You know sexual abuse when you see it. Sometimes sexual abuse can be. We might dive into that or whatever. But it can definitely be confusing, especially if you haven't experienced it before. So when did you realize, in your experience, when did you realize it was abuse when it comes to mental abuse? Like when did that light
Well,
bulb
abuse.
go off in your head? Like, wait a second, like this isn't right. Like this is not.
Well, my whole relationship. I've been a couple, a few. No, I'll just say a couple relationships specifically that were majorly abusive, and I would say, and I don't want to like overuse the word abuse because I feel like sometimes it can be so overplayed, and I don't know. It's kind of hard, but it's a real thing, and it wasn't talked about for a long time. And so now that it's coming out, I think it's like everyone's like everyone's abusive, which yeah, maybe. But I would say probably after my relationship. Well, towards the end of my relationship, well, throughout my relationship, I could say that I felt crazy. I literally felt like something would happen and I would show that person and like physically show them like the evidence or whatever it was, and they would literally say nope. And I'm like, "What?" And then they would have this really good story and twist it around and say like,
It made you question everything.
yeah, you literally felt crazy, and you're like, and then you're like, actually believe them because their story is good, and so you start believing like, oh, maybe I didn't see that, even though you just, it's like sounds so dumb to be honest, like when you think about it now,
Yeah.
but when you're in the moment and you don't really realize it too much, like you have questions and you're like, okay, did that actually happen? And you're like, no, and then they make you feel crazy, like you're just making that up, and you're like, maybe I
Yeah.
am I, like you questioning it constantly. That was like the worst, terrible game, going back and forth, and I don't even know like what you would say about that. I'm trying to be like
Yeah, I mean,
respectful.
yeah, you want to be respectful because at the end of the day, realistically, at the end of the day,
It's my experience, so I don't really
well,
care. in
not
that
even
sense,
just
but
that.
I'm
It,
not
it is
here
your
to-
experience, but right now, like this is the part because I've had to do a lot of thinking about this subject in general, and even about the podcast. Like I didn't even want to share things like in this area about the podcast or about other people, like past relationships,
because some people
family relationships.
decipher it.
Yeah, some people can decipher it, but this is where like my heart is right now. Last Sunday we just talked about like spiritual firefighters being able to pull people out of the fire,
Yeah, that's
and
where
not
we're at.
not stay
It's not
offended.
to-
Like this is where I'm at in my life. Like there's been a lot of hurt and pain done to me, and I've done my fair share of hurt and pain.
As
And
everyone.
yeah, as is everyone. So the reason why like I share this stuff is not because to wave a flag saying like, oh, look at me, I've been hurt so much. It's to get people to realize in their own lives like things that they've gone through, and then to move past it.
Yeah.
Because right now, at the end of the day, anybody that's hurt me, I mean, a lot of the people that have hurt me, I don't have contact with a whole lot. There's
Well, that's the whole point of saying like, wow, look at us now. Like,
Yeah.
Look at where we were and look at us
but
now.
the way that I have like, especially since Sunday, the way I have been looking at things like in this past year, is right now if they apologized to God and rededicated their life or dedicated their life to God again and gave it all to Him, like then they're everything that they did past sins, because my past sins were forgiven. Like, so if they were right now to be like, God, please forgive me. Like, I want you in my life. Like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Then it's done. Like, legit clean slate. Like, I have nothing to hold on to.
Yeah.
And when I asked for forgiveness for the things that I've done, like, I have to let go of the stuff that's been done to me, kind of thing. And so when I talk about this kind of stuff, it is coming from zero place of judgment,
Yeah.
and 100% of experience in the fact of, hey, this is what happened. This is what God did for me. It's very little to do with the fact of, oh, this is what this person did, or this is what this person did. It's 100% the fact of, this is what happened to me, and this is what God did in my life.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that I was always nervous about, like with this podcast, is people listening. It is not a bash fest. Like, this isn't to bash other people. This isn't, and that's why I don't like sharing a whole lot of details, other than things that I've was specifically in or had a part of. But I still pray for all the people that I've been in relationships with. I still pray for the people that you've been in relationships with, just because I know that I don't want to be stuck in that place of unforgiveness.
Yeah. And it changes your heart too.
Yeah.
Which also, I'm going to go ahead and answer, like, not just about the mental abuse. I would say, like, it is so common, sexual abuse in marriage. Like, I can't even, you don't think it's sexual abuse unless you're, like maybe, like, physically getting hurt or whatever it is. But
Or you're,
I'm
like,
definitely
screaming,
gonna
no.
say, well, yeah, it could be so subtle, though. Like, as simple as, and I'm gonna sort of expose this, but it's as simple as you being married to him, so you make an excuse for it. Like, there's been a few times in this happening to me where I'm literally, like, waking up to basically having sex. Like,
Yeah.
I was asleep and I'm waking up with my husband on top of me or whatever.
Not this
it is.
husband.
No, I know. No, I know.
No, I know. I just
But I'm
wanted to
saying it was
specifically
just, I
say.
did not understand. Like, that's when I'm
Yeah.
like thinking. I thought I got a really bad reaction because I was sexually abused as a child, which that created a whole crap ton of stuff too.
Yeah.
But so it gave me that feeling back again, like being sexually abused, and
Yeah.
which also I can say, like, sexual abuse as a child, I didn't even realize it was from a girlfriend, actually. It wasn't even another guy. It probably explains why I didn't trust girls for a long time growing up because of that. But it wasn't like something like crazy. It was just like, oh, this is what you do to, like, experiment, or like you don't think that's what it is until I was like way older. I was like almost like legit. What? I was like 28 or something when I was like, oh my gosh, that's actually what it was. This entire time I didn't think, and I had so much shame holding on to it. And I had no idea until it came out on, like, therapy and that kind of stuff. And I was like, wow, I cannot believe that actually, like, I put a word to it. But the first thing that, like, I came to, it wasn't even like that I was, like, necessarily mad at her. The first thing I thought was like, oh my gosh, wow, what happened to her to make her do that? Like, something happened to her first to make her do that. And that, like, made me so sad. Which obviously you get through, but like, so it could be so subtle as literally that, or like laying there and you're sleeping and your husband looks under the covers, like, or whatever it is. It's something like even so subtle. It's like that's actually abusive. Like, you didn't say yes to that, or when you say no a few times. Like, I've had that happen many times, like in other, not even necessarily relationships, like with other guys and stuff, like constantly asking me to have sex, and I said no, and just because I gave in because I was done hearing about it, like, and they're kind of like, oh, come on, and you just like get, like, honestly, so that's also kind of as well as like you're still consenting to it, and it's like, yeah, but I'm kind of not too, and I kind of said no multiple times, and now I'm just wanting you to shut up. But
So, how do you navigate today's marriage after dealing with past abuse and triggers?
woo.
Which you and I, I mean, you and I are already kind of on the same page about this, but just for the people that are listening, like, in our marriage, because you and I talk about this a lot.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh,
even before we started dating, you talked about certain triggers
Oh,
and red
Lordy,
flags.
I can't even. Yeah, me as a person, me triggered after like being in abusive like marriages or relationships,
Yeah.
whatever. Like after, I'm just gonna tell you guys, girl or guy, next relationship that you're in, if it's a healthy relationship, it's gonna you're still gonna have the triggers. It's not gonna be like all one and done. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna continue to bring that in your next relationship until you start dealing with things, or that you can trust that person. Because honestly, I think what helped me a lot was trusting you, even if like yeah, there's been certain times that trust has been broken and stuff, but like your actions, you follow through with what you say, and that's like what I need, because it's like you can tell me all you want how much like you love me or whatever it is, and it's not, and nothing's gonna
Yeah.
come to mind. I'm just gonna be like, okay, no. Yeah, I just like to see your actions, but
Yeah.
dealing with today's, honestly, it's a mindset. It's such a mind.
It's an everyday thing.
Yeah, like the triggers and trying to do and like trust again, because it was really, that was probably my main thing. Like I was deathly afraid to get in a relationship again, and being able to trust
I would
was
say
actually
that's-
really scary. I still question it, is because I couldn't trust myself. I couldn't look. I was like, I'm obviously my picker is broken. Whoever I pick, it's not healthy. And so when getting into a healthy relationship, you're so skeptical about it, and you're like, I mean, there's difference. Like I didn't see there was I feel like everyone has like red flags, I guess you could say. There's a couple things, but it depends on what it is. Like
Well,
there's not
nobody's
really
perfect. That's the thing.
Well, exactly,
Everybody's gonna
but
deal with
that's-
something.
but that's what I'm saying. Like there's not
You just
you're
have to
gonna find
choose
that,
what
but
you're
it's
willing
just
to-
yeah, it's a risk either way. So me getting in marriage and dealing with it again was just a mind game, like trying to heal, like constantly telling myself like, okay, so whenever something like would go on, and like instantly I would like think in my head like, oh my gosh, is he cheating? Like this is like my normal. This is like PTSD trauma, like constantly. Like when I mean it's repeated over and over and over, it's like since I was like 15 years old in relationships. That's how long, till almost 30. Well, no, I guess 25, 26, whatever, 27. Anywhere in that relationship from 15 is, I've literally been cheated on multiple times. So it's like just like this wavelength that keeps going around and around until you officially just keep trying to break it off. I mean, you're gonna have success in some of them, but like that's what I have to constantly, it's like talk myself down. So when like you don't get home, like, or you're out and about, and I don't know anywhere you're at or any of that stuff, I have to
when I
like
get off?
literally tell what, yeah, I get, no,
Because
not
I get
even
off
that.
at weird hours and stuff.
Yeah, you just get off at whatever hours. But it's gotten way easier, but obviously it's helped a little bit, but I have to literally say like, okay, no, that's not who he is. That's a good, does this go against his character or does it not? I mean, for the people, if you're going to be with someone and it goes with their
Yeah.
character, you're going to be in a hairy situation, because it's really hard to do that. But I had to literally like talk myself out of it every single time. Like every bad thought that would come in my mind, I'm like, nope, I'm shutting it down. I'm not entertaining this thought. I'm not going to do this, because I'm just going to choose to trust. And if there's other boundaries or other things that need to be put in place, like you have done many times, even if you didn't do the breaking,
it wasn't
like
my fault.
I'm actually pretty sure I did something like that. And my vows, I think I said something like, thank you for taking care of my heart, even though you're the one that didn't do the breaking.
Yeah.
Like you had to, I'm not saying you had to fix me or you had to heal me, but you're kind of like a redeeming love for me. You're a Boaz to the Ruth, What? I'm serious. It really is.
Well,
This is a whole other experience that I've never had a healthy relationship. And so it scared me. Like I was like, nope, too good to be true. I just kept saying that, like, nope, I already know the shoe's gonna drop. Nope, I know. And that's not necessarily. And like obviously when something happens, you're like, yeah, I knew it. Like I knew something, like, or whatever.
yeah. But that's life in general.
Yeah, but you just have to constantly shut it down.
I
And
think
that's like literally the hardest thing, is shutting down such a thought pattern. It's like
See,
exhausting. It really is exhausting, but it's worth it in the
I think
end.
for us, like for a while, we had a stint where it was like, especially in the beginning, where it was like you did have trouble trusting, and you would get triggered by which
Oh yeah, definitely.
rightfully so and understandable.
There's
But
all kinds of
then
reasons
it
why.
would put me at a standoff because I would feel like I was in trouble or that you were mad at me or there was something wrong and like I hadn't even done anything. So it was a very humbling experience for me because there was a couple of times and you and I've talked about this, but there was a couple of times where like I was mad. I was
Yeah.
oh man,
I didn't even do
I was
anything.
I was livid and specifically remember I'm driving or I wasn't driving, I was in the passenger seat and I was riding with one of my coworkers and he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing. And I was like, I was mad and I was talking to God. I was hashing it out. I was like, God, this isn't right. This isn't fair. This isn't and he just I mean he just hit me square in the face with it. He's like, no. He's like, you're not gonna he's like, you don't get the right to be mad. I'm like, what? I'm like, but I'm like, I literally didn't do anything. You know, like I'm being accused, and I literally didn't do anything. So you don't get the right to be mad, and I have it written down in my journal and saved. So you don't get the right to be mad. He's like, you are called. He's like, you're a husband, and he's like, and you're called to love her the way that I've loved you. And all the times that you've walked out on me, and all the times that you've accused me, all the times that he's like, I still treated you with the same love. And oh man, that hurt. Like driving, I was on the freeway and I was you know the bridge coming from Green to Roseburg. I know exactly like where I was at the time. Like we were coming back into Roseburg. I was on the bridge. I was looking down on the right side where that like old barn is and stuff on like as if you're heading towards the dump. I remember it plain as day, and it wrecked me, and I immediately went home and journaled it because it was like, and this is just anything with abuse. Like you don't get to hold on to that. He's like, I've been there for you through it all, and you're a husband, and it's just the way like Jesus has done stuff for us in this area. Like we talk about people abusing us. Like how many times have we abused Jesus?
Yeah, it doesn't give you a reason to stay though.
No,
if
it
you're
doesn't.
actually if you're actually
No, I'm not saying.
I know what you're saying. I'm
I'm
just
not
trying to
saying.
clarify it for people that are listening because I know what you're saying. It doesn't mean other people are.
I
Like,
don't
but
know.
how much we do it to him.
I know, but it chokes me up every time because it's like I have nothing to complain about. Like yeah, I've gone through some stuff in my life that I wish I hadn't.
And that's why I was so worried too
Yeah.
about getting a relationship because and getting in a marriage too because I know what it brings. You have to do communication. There's vulnerability. It's like starting over. I was like, man, I do not want to do this because of what happens and I didn't and I was enjoying my, independence and finally like it was such a freeing feeling not feeling like you're getting abused anymore. Like leaving the relationships both times even though I went into another one not knowing I have a lot more wisdom now. That's all I can say. I can instantly discern with people and things now. I'm like, nope. Like, doesn't mean I call them out on it, but I'm just like, nope. I'm gonna go
Well,
ahead and back
the
away.
thing is sometimes people don't even know they're doing it.
Well, yeah,
Like they could be some of the I've met some super kind, loving people,
yeah,
and I'm not saying they are not an abuser, but they do things that show qualities of and maybe that's just because of how they were raised. Like if I didn't have Jesus, I hands down would probably be the way that some of the people have treated me for sure. Like
yeah,
because it's like you get taught those things like oh this is how a relationship is, oh this is how motherly fatherly relationship is, this is how a brotherly sisterly relationship, this is what, because that's what happens when you are in that spot. uh so I think I know that there's a lot of things that people don't even realize, but it just takes a lot of inward reflection. Okay, like okay God, like where am I? And a lot of the times it's God will just show me, he'll just reveal it, because there's been a lot of times where I'm like God, I don't want to ever be like that, and not realize it, and treat someone. So there's been a lot of times like where I've apologized to people and I'm like, hey dude, I'm sorry for what I said, like this, I did not mean it, and they're like, no, they're like, I never even took it that way. I'm like, cool, but I need you to know, like that is not where where my heart was at when I said that thing, or
this is where your overthinking comes in too.
Yeah.
But that's what's helped us in our moment. Like me growing up, like Yeah, there's definitely things that I reacted to when I was getting abused because I didn't know how to handle it. Like I would go back or protecting myself. Like I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like you just kind of react, but like in the same way, I don't remember what I was saying now. In the same way, yep, still don't know.
We were just talking about overthinking.
Yeah, I don't know. I dropped it. Dang it. That was a good thing. What I said. I was thinking it and I was like, yeah.
God put the brakes on it.
No. No, this has been good. You probably want me to say this. And then Rochelle's getting in the way. Oh, no, but about being aware. That's what it was.
Oh.
About if you're aware, that's honestly the first step of knowing things.
Yeah.
It's like being so self-aware. I'm so self-aware because I've seen so much bad stuff between relationships that I know how I react. Not always. Like, you can't say, like, I know exactly how I react, but I try to watch myself a little bit more and, like, what I do and what I say. I think that's the only, like, really healthy way is just being self-aware and wanting to communicate with people. You know. Okay.
This one was a little all over the place, I feel like.
Well, it was about abuse, though.
But it was good. Yeah. I don't know.
You know, my redeeming love, you're like, well, we were talking about that. It's not really all over the place.
I always go back to, like, it's so hard to explain to some people, and like, a relationship, a marriage, like as a husband, you're supposed to be there and keep loving, even when things are hurting, even if it's not your fault or it is your fault, and then showing up still, you know, and doing what you got to do to make things work. And I just, in every relationship I've been in, like, when God showed up, I'm like, okay, God, like, I have no room to talk, you know, like, and of course my sins are forgiven. It's just, I use that as like a reminder of like, dude, God has me. Like, I don't have to worry about and hold on to things that have been done to me. And it's a daily fight. So I'm going to pray this one out.
I'm going to pray this one out.
I think we're
hopefully none of this shriek.
Yeah.
Okay.
God, we just thank you for a time to come together and to talk about our experiences, Lord. And we just ask that it just touches people that are listening or watching. God, I pray for the hearts of the abused, Lord. I pray that you just give them comfort and meet them in the place that they're in right now. Help them to navigate the rough seas that they're going through and to show them your way, Lord, and what you have for them. And help us to not hold on to things, Lord. Help us to have a forgiving heart. We want to be able to forgive and not hold on to things, just as you forgive and not hold on to onto the things that we've done, Lord. And we just ask that you help show us anywhere that we are being abusing or abusive in other relationships. Show us, Lord. Show us that what you want us to do and what you have for us, Lord. And we just thank you in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Hey, thanks for coming today. I'm glad to have you on my podcast.